I'm Sarah Rieth, and I'm an Episcopal priest, and for many years have served as a pastoral counselor in agency and private practice, and have done a lot of work with trauma survivors. I'm currently serving as a chaplain at a continuing care retirement community in Southern Pines, North Carolina, a faith-based organization where we're committed to helping make every day great for each person, staff and residents, and helping people live abundantly until they are ready to die. Throughout the years of ministry, I've worked with many elders and people who live with disabilities. What we know is that those of us who currently do not live with disabilities are merely temporarily not disabled. But as we come to know our elders, the journey is one of increasing loss of capacities, loss of abilities. And so my concern in this role as chaplain at a continuing care retirement community is for the vulnerability of our elders. In addition to the vulnerabilities that we know that older women have and experience, vulnerabilities like poverty, physical aging challenges, loss of physical capacities, dementia, and so forth. What I've discovered is that one of the greatest vulnerabilities that older women experience is not being taken seriously and being seen as a sweet old lady and not as a storied, embodied whole person who comes having had a life journey and has a life journey now as well. I care very much to create a presence where women and men can speak, can talk about the untalkaboutable. I've found that many people need to come and work through that end-of-life challenge of making peace with my life. And for many people that involves talking about having experienced child sexual abuse long ago, 6, 7, 8 decades ago, where they've never disclosed that before. And they're wanting to resolve the feelings of shame, pain, anger, grief, sorrow, betrayal. And also women who have this sweet little old lady who has an embodied, storied life, has moved heaven and earth to break free of a violent relationship. At great cost, some women who live in poverty have experienced domestic violence, and part of the cost of getting out of the relationship was extreme economic vulnerability. Women are more vulnerable when we, as their friends and chaplains and ministers and family members and caregivers, are not conscious of our own internal attitudes and countertransferences that will cause us to diminish someone by seeing her as a little old lady and not as a full embodied person, who may become frustrated that she's slower in moving around. She's not as mentally quick anymore. She can't do the things that she used to do. She becomes argumentative and belligerent because she's starting in that kind of a journey of dementia. We know of women who are beaten, who are strangled, who are stolen from, who are pushed and shoved, grabbed, and injured, and end up hospitalized for having been in the presence of someone who was not managing their own conscious and unconscious attitudes of the need to control. A sweet little old lady isn't supposed to be stubborn, but most of us become more like we always were the older we get. And a strong-willed woman who has learned to survive abuse, violence, and the indignities of not being taken seriously by her doctor or by the culture, may be stubborn, and that can be difficult for a caregiver, a family member, who mom or grandma isn't supposed to be stubborn. She's supposed to be the all-giving woman all the time. And so I care very much that that we create a culture where people are becoming more and more self-reflective about how we use our own attitudes of our own needs to control, our own needs to express our power, and how we can use our power for good and tame and temper our own desires to control another person. I believe that when we do more and more of that kind of self-reflection, our elders who are vulnerable will be able to live in a much safer environment. And that will help us have more peace in the world and more safety and more joy and more abundance of life.